Hey yo, what is up everybody? Welcome to the TJAY TV podcast, only on Spotify and YouTube/A3 Media. How are you doing today? Happy Thursday. Now, I haven't been doing a podcast all week. I've been super busy with other stuff going on in my personal life. I'm not going to announce what's going on. A lot of people that I've been talking to, like my friends, my family, they know what's going on. It's just some things are better left unsaid over a microphone, just because, like I said, there's a lot of things that I have to go through right now. There's just stuff going on in my personal life that's kind of putting a damper, not really a damper, just kind of like a nuisance in a way. And like, I don't know, I'm trying to keep my personal life off of social media, meaning like, in a sense, I'm not trying to tell everybody or everyone, hey, like, this is happening in my life, or hey, I'm going on vacation this day, so you can come rob my house if you'd like. No, I'm not trying to do all that. I'm not in, like, the right, like, I don't know, I want to keep my personal life off of social media as much as I can. Like, when it comes to the podcast, I'll talk about some stuff in my personal life, but when it comes to certain things, I don't want to announce what I'm doing right away. So, like, I will announce it probably within the next month or so, maybe in mid-May, and who knows? It's just a lot of stuff going on. But there is something that has been pissing me off lately. Now, for some reason, I got an email, and 42 of my podcast episodes are in danger of getting deleted because of, I think because of the Rob Zombie music I used to put in, Dragula. Now, that kind of pisses me off in a sense, because I make a lot of, I try to make this like a radio show, whether it's an hour or so. I try to like make a little bit of a good production in it. I don't like hopping onto a microphone and just like, you know, without any production elements. So what I'm trying to do is, I may try to hold a contest, and I have a lot of musicians who came on my show before. Send me a song that I could use for an open. Like, make a song, and that way, like, I'll pick whatever song is going to be the opening for the rest of the show's history, whether it's going to be for another, 3 months, whether it's going to be for another 2 months, who knows. But I kind of want to do a contest like that. I tried to do it a couple years ago. It didn't really work out. I didn't really have people to have the time and to really do it. And it literally just, I don't know. I kind of want to host a contest. Make me a music intro. That'd be great. I'll do a contest about it. And then maybe do it on the air. Like, have everybody on air just talk about, their music and why they chose this. And then whoever wins the contest, their music will be featured on the show forever. So who knows? That's something cool. But in any event, that's a different story for a different day. But in any event, I have an interview with award-winning screenwriter, director, photo critic, and anime fan, Matt Anderson. And we did this last night. So this interview is a little over an hour long. I want to say it's about an hour and 10 minutes. And I had a good time. I had a really good time. We talked a lot. We talked about movies, talked about his life in the Air Force, a little bit of UFOs. We talked pretty much a little bit about everything and anything. And the one thing that he told me was, you're a good interviewer. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm really not that great of an interviewer. At least I don't think I am. I mean, I've been told that multiple times, like, I'm one of the best interviewers, I'm a good interviewer. And it really makes me happy when people say that. So, it just, like, I don't know, it's like a weird, I guess it's kind of like, it makes me happy that I know I can interview people, and that I've come, doing the show 10 years ago, I came from just talking, shit about whatever, to becoming like a good interviewer. It just makes me happy that people can say that I'm a good interviewer and acknowledge it. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. It makes me happy when people say that I'm a good interviewer. And I really like when people tell me that, because it just makes me feel good in a sense. But, yeah. We're just going to get off of that little topic. Anyways, enough talking. Matt Anderson, the interview is coming up. Here we go. Only on the TJAY TV podcast. I'm with Matt Anderson, who is an award-winning screenwriter, director, owner of Key 13 Films and Cinephoto, and you're also an anime fan. So, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's just been working on getting a couple of our films distributed and working on pre-production on my next two films following in Quattro. So, just keeping busy with everything that's going on.
What got you into the film business?
It was kind of weird, very organic in many respects. Um, for the longest time I did photography. And I still do the photography. I still have Key 13 Studio. But I did an interview for a show called Behind the Set, which was a public access show run by an actress that I slash model, and I knew her at the time. She was going by the name Rose Genevieve. Her real name's Nikki. Um, and she did an interview, and I helped her out with some of that, and so she really liked it, so she asked me to come on board to help her with her show as a consulting producer. So I got on there, helped her out with that. Then we interviewed the cast and crew of a movie. They needed a cinematographer. I had the experience, so uh, um, we talked and we came up with an agreement, and so I joined on that. And then they really liked the job that I did, so I worked on another project and a few other things, and then decided to uh, strike off on my own, so to speak, and create Key 13 Films with a couple of other folks who unfortunately had to move on. And um, it just came together that way. And then plus, I've been writing since I was 7 years old. I had dreams of being a novelist, and found out I wasn't a very good novelist because I didn't have a lot of life experience at that point. And so, over the years, I watched a lot of movies. Um, all sort from all types of genres. As you mentioned, I love anime, Asian cinema, classic cinema, modern films, and so you know, after writing reviews, I did a lot of film analysis, and so I started writing my screenplays because I had stories to tell, and then it just all worked out together. Here I am.
Now, speaking of anime, what's your favorite type of like? Do you like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, uh, all the ones that I would know as a kid growing up, or is there different types of anime? Because I'm not really that well versed in anime because I only know Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon, and obviously Dragon Ball Z. But what about you?
Well, my son loves those. Those are the ones that my son loves. Me, I'm an old school anime fan. I got into anime back. Well, I didn't even know it was anime back in the 70s with Battle of the Planets, which is called Gatchaman in Japan. And Star Blazers, which was Space Battleship Yamato. And but then in the 80s there was a show called Robotech, which took an original three different Japanese television series and combined them into this one 85 episode mega story arc. And from that point on I was hooked. And I lived in Japan for 7 years, so um I really got to immerse myself in all of it. It was absolutely amazing. Um, my one true love, I am definitely a giant robot fan. I love good giant robot anime. My favorite is one that most people have never heard of. It's called Gal Gaigar, King of Braves, Gal Gaigar. I actually watched it in Japan on air on TV. It was my first anime that I ever got to watch from beginning to end. Fell in love with it. Got all the sequel series. So I like a lot of the anime, and now of course it's all over the place, which is great. My most recent foray into more modern stuff is uh, Demon Slayer. My son got me into that show, and he loves it. I love it, and we're anxiously awaiting the final season. We don't know when it's coming out, but we're anxiously awaiting it.
I've heard of Demon Slayer. I believe my wife watched a little bit of that.
Mhm.
And this guy that she worked with got her into Demon Slayer. I don't quote me on that. I do believe that she watched that because I know the name. But living in Japan for 7 years, that had to be an amazing experience. So, how did you even get to Japan in the first place? What was that experience like? How did that all come about?
Well, I was in the Air Force, and I volunteered to be stationed there, and they had a thing called DROS extension, or delayed return of to stateside extension. So as soon as I got there, I was barely there 6 months, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm staying as long as they'll let me." They were looking for people, so um, excuse me. So they were looking for people, and I they accepted my extension, so I got to stay there for 7 years. Um, I mean, absolutely adore Japan. It's a wonderful country, wonderful people, and so I got to watch Japanese anime, till my ears bled. Uh, what we call Power Rangers, Tokusatsu, Super Sentai shows, Kamen Rider came back after a long hiatus, Ultraman. I watched tons of Asian cinema. I actually had video membership at the local Japanese video store, and I was one of the few Americans that would actually go in there and rent Japanese movies and things, no subtitles. I had no, I was trying to learn the language, and so just kind of immersed myself that way, and became kind of a an expert on Asian cinema, not just Japanese, but Chinese, some Korean. I will admit that my Korean film and cinema and TV knowledge is not as good as my Japanese knowledge. Of course, I got to watch Japanese TV, and I've got tons of DVDs. Either that I bought. You can actually see them back there.
Yeah.
Back there. That's all Asian cinema, TV shows, things like that. Um, it was just an absolute enjoyable experience. I got a whole room that I call it my Japan room. It's just packed full of everything I brought back from Japan. I brought back toys and memorabilia and books and magazines and VHS tapes. I mean, it's a massive collection, and I would go back again in a heartbeat if I could afford to do so. It's not a cheap place to live.
No, I would imagine. I mean, seeing a lot of videos of people in Japan, it looks very expensive out there.
It is. It's kind of like double. I mean, when the exchange rate is good, like it is right now, you can get some serious stuff. Like there's a show that I really loved, called Seibukatsu, or West Police Station, and they had the box sets available. And at the time I was there in Japan, it was almost one for one, so it was $300-400.
Mm.
But now with the exchange rate, I was able to pick it up for like $150. So it was like I couldn't pass that up. So the exchange rate's good. You can do very well, but if it's not good, then yeah, it's double everything.
Yeah, the Air Force, you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was in the Navy. She was stationed at Pearl Harbor, actually, where the ships were. She told me it was a lot of it was really eerie. Now, when you're up in the Air Force, how high are you? You're going higher than planes, right? When you're in the air, right?
Well, I was never in the I was in the Air Force. I flew on an Air Force jet once my entire career. I worked in the hospital.
Okay.
I was a medic, health services administration, and then medic. So all my flying in the Air Force was commercial. I've only flown on one Air Force airplane, and that was because I was taking a hop, which is something that service members can do. If there's a space available on a military flight, then you can hop onto that flight. And that was the only time I ever flew on a military aircraft was a C-9 Nightingale, which was a medical plane. So, I'm not I didn't get to be, I wasn't on the flight line, and all that stuff. So, I had a very ground level Air Force experience.
My mom tried to get me to go into like the Air Force and the National Guard. I'm too scared. Like I'm too much of a pussy, as I say it, because like I know I could do the physical aspect of it, just the mental part of going through what you guys go through in the Navy, Air Force, Army, whatever. I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it mentally, but physically I could. You know.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say that my entire time, my 21 years in the Air Force was the easiest, but it certainly was rewarding, and I certainly don't regret having done it. And because of it, I got to do things like go to Japan that I would never have gotten to do if I'd had some other job, more than likely. So, it is just like everything in this life, it's what you make of it. And if you go in with the right attitude and you just, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. But, if you don't, I'm a firm believer that just because you can do something doesn't mean that you must do it. If you don't feel that you are ready to do something, it's okay to well, I know my limits, and this is one of them. And because then you get to do other things, and you get to find something else that's more what you're into, and that's a great thing. I wish more people didn't try to force themselves to do stuff because everybody else is doing it, and do stuff that they want to do because that's who they are. And if you find that, that's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, definitely. Now, did your friends in the Air Force, did they ever set, because I'm a big believer that there are UFOs out there. Did any of your friends ever see anything weird up in the skies that you know of or don't know of?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen weird stuff in the skies. Um, you know, um, I've seen flying saucers. I've seen the lights in the sky. Um, and not oddly enough, not on the Air Force Base when I'm out in the when I was, like I lived in Oklahoma for a while, so I saw some weird stuff out there. Of course, you just never know. I've seen some of that stuff. But uh where I was, I never got to go to Area 51 or anything like that. Kind of regret not having done that, but that's okay. It was I've seen some weird stuff, but it's probably it's probably more than likely top secret fighter jet stuff or stealth stuff than anything else, but you never know.
Well, have you ever hear the Bob Lazar story?
I don't think so.
So Bob Lazar, he was like this big inventor back in the 70s and 80s, and then Area 51, somebody hired him, and Lazar even said like, I would work on these flying saucer like objects, and the military would do testing back in the 80s. So Bob and his friends, he took his friends to the middle of the desert in, where is it, Nevada, and
Yeah.
would see these saucers go straight up. They would shoot the saucer straight up in the air, and his friends would take pictures of them. And the government found out, tried to silence him, and basically they fired him. And he still gets swatted to this day. The guy is like in his 60s, still gets swatted.
Well, who knows? Maybe what they saw was probably drones, the first drones. Who knows? But there's a lot of stuff out there that you can't explain. I have a friend of mine, he's very much into the cryptid world. I'm not so much me. Um, but we all have our things that are that we find interesting. And since I'm also a hardcore science fiction fan, for me, I certainly believe that there's something out there. And but Unfortunately, whomever, whether it's government covering up or just somebody's out there, or they just don't want to be seen. I don't know, but I hope one day to have uh, a positive encounter. I don't want to be like Fire in the Sky. That that movie was whack.
I kind of feel a little like I feel bad for the astronauts that were stuck in space for 9 months. Just like imagine no way down. It kind of reminded me of the movie Gravity with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, But the funny thing is that there was, I believe her name was Shannon Lucid, who spent a year in space. So she's probably sitting there going, "Yeah, wieners," because she did it for a year. So, and I think she was on the Russian space station too. So, she's the OG, and I do feel bad for them. But could you just imagine just being able to be up in space, even for, yeah, maybe after about 6 months, the novelty wears off, and you're like, God, I want to get the hell back on Earth. I want to feel gravity and all that. But still, I mean, I had dreams of going into space. Unfortunately, the career path I chose in the Air Force didn't get me anywhere near that. So, but that's okay. Like I said, it let me do other things that I never would have got to do had I done something else.
yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I don't know. Being up in space, I feel I would like it, but I would also want to go home right away.
Well, I'm like getting ready to go visit my mom in Oregon, and I haven't flown on an airplane, and certainly not for a long time. I think the last time was maybe I flew from Andrews to Texas for class. And it wasn't even from Andrews, it was from BWI. So this is my first long flight since I flew back from Japan, and that was 12 and a half hours. So I'm kind of nervous about flying for the first time in many, many, many years. So I could kind of understand where you're coming from on that one. It's just like, oh wow, this is cool. Okay, let's think about heading back. But still, for me, if I could spend a week in space, if I had the money, and they let old guy like me go up there, I'd do the William Shatner thing. I was really hoping that like Virgin Galactic was going to be like a thing, and it just seemed to like they had a couple missions and then it just dropped off the radar. So
Uh,
I was kind of disappointed with that. I really was kind of hoping we get there, but
Now,
oh
how many
well.
years haven't you been on a plane? Was it like pre 9/11 or post 9/11?
Oh, it was post. It was
Post.
post. Yeah. It's just haven't really had any place to go. Making movies and photography and just so many other things that happen. Life gets in the way. And so, just never really had any place to go that I couldn't drive to for the most part. Certainly a lot cheaper and a lot easier to drive than it is to fly.
Yeah,
So it's money also can be a factor too.
I get that. My wife and I were looking at flights to Italy, and it's 4 grand just to go from Philadelphia to I think we stop in JFK and then fly overseas to wherever in Italy. And it's like 4 grand. I'm like 4 grand. That's too expensive. But we went to Colorado in September, and we found tickets that were like $400 just for two of us, which was easy. It was perfect. That was
Right.
can find to go to Colorado. But I will admit though, I'm not a good flyer. I've never really been a good flyer. I was 6 years old when I saw the events of 9/11 unfold on television, and my first plane ride going to California, I was watching the beginning of Lost. Just like I figured, like,
Oh no.
if I could watch people crashing on a plane, I could, while I'm on a plane, I could survive this plane ride, and I did. But it just wasn't. It wasn't a good time because there was so much turbulence. I'm thinking the plane's going to crash. I'm like, oh god. Luckily, nothing happened, but you know.
Yeah, no, I'm a little nervous with all these plane crashes myself, but you know, it's still statistically very low. So you know, there's danger in everything we do. It's dangerous to get in the car. It's dangerous to even walk across the street, you know. So
Isn't that
sometimes
insane though?
Hmm?
Well, I'm saying, isn't that insane with all these plane crashes? Like, it's like weird that they're all happening in the course of like 2 to 3 weeks every now and then. Like, there's always something with the plane. Like, I just saw something recently where um there was a fire. One of the engines caught fire, and the passengers had to evacuate on the wing of the plane because of the fire.
Well, I mean, when you evacuate from a plane, you do often go on the wing. That's where usually the emergency exits are near, because it gives you a little bit more space to get off. So that's not necessarily unusual. But you know, I mean, it could just be that it just happened to bunch of things happen to happen at once. You know, maintenance is a very tough thing. I knew a lot of what they were called crew chiefs, and I mean, you know, it's one of the few jobs in this world you have to be perfect, not good, not solid. You have to be perfect, and you know, unfortunately, things happen, and sometimes it's weather, sometimes it's people just not doing their job right. Sometimes it's just something you had no idea that was going to happen, and it just works out that way. So you know, it's certainly was upsetting that all happened within a really short period of time, but it's also because a lot of things these days are really amplified. So, you know, one little thing can be really blown out of proportion, and I've seen it, you know, on any number of topics. So, you know, sometimes you just have to, sometimes it's just, you have to put things into perspective. You just have to look at the bigger picture and see, okay, yeah, this is concerning, but if you look at it this way, you look at it holistically, there's, you know, it's not as bad as it could be.
Right.
So, you know, it's always just it's you sometimes you just gotta just put your faith in something, whatever it may be, and or you just gotta kind of look at things and get a better different perspective. Um, you know, that's how I've gotten a lot further in life once I stopped just focusing on my very narrow viewpoint and I started looking at the bigger picture and looking at more things and trying to understand the world around me. I find that, you know, one, I'm much happier and I'm much more open to what people are bringing to the world. And then, you know, as a screenwriter, it really helps kind of add some interesting dimensions to the characters that I create for my story. So, you know, we're all connected in some way, and um, everybody that we meet and everything we see and learn is there for us to take a lesson from and to grow as a person. And if you're receptive to that, you'll be amazed at the wonders that open up to you and really help you kind of figure out your place in this world and the rest of the world in relation to you, and that's a great place to be.
Yeah, no, I get that a lot. Um, Now when you're creating these characters, you use them when you create these characters and use them, do you take things that happen in your personal life and put them in the character traits that you're creating? Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's a little bit of me in every character that I write. Whether it's male, female, psychopathic killer, we all got a little bit of Michael Myers and or Jason Voorhees inside of us. Um, you know, when you create a character, and it, it always depends on the film. I try to imbue my characters with realistic responses, for lack of a better term. If a character does something, there has to be a good reason for it. Pardon me. It may not be a readily apparent reason. You may not even know the reason. It may be a backstory that is never really spelled out. But even in like a movie like Quattro, where it's a very kind of surreal situation where people are connected to a machine that is taking their thoughts and their minds and their memories and then projecting it onto a screen, and then revealing that one of them is a serial killer. um, there still has to be a reason why why this one person became a serial killer, why these people are reacting the way that they are. And if you do that when you create your characters, whether it's something that you've done or something that you come up with, um, and they come up with a realistic way to respond to something, that's what makes a character far more interesting and realistic, than just, okay, they're a slut, they're a brainiac, they're a nerd, they're a thief, they're a killer, they're a unstoppable evil. You can just do the surface, but for me as a screenwriter, I need a little bit more level, even except for like the killer in Quattro, name is Toxic. Um, we don't get into why that character does what he does. It's not needed because in some ways he's a MacGuffin. He helps move the plot along. So but everybody else in the movie, you get flashes of why they do what they do, their motivations, their desires, their interests. And when you do that, that's what makes a character far more interesting. And then, I'll inject something like in Anna Key. Anna Key is based off of several women that I had either dated or been with in my years. And so, they're a compilation of several different women, and a lot of the things that Anna does in that film I've experienced on my own or experienced through that. And also with Amanda Megan, who was writing the movie with me, she she herself recognizes Anna because she's been that character. So she was able to make sure that when Anna reacted a certain way, that there was a believable reason for that reaction. And that's why it's won so many awards and why it's done so well, is because every character in that is fleshed out. Even the most minor characters has a backstory that you may not necessarily know it, but you definitely know this person. You've met that person before.
when you have recurring characters in a film, would you ever make a film focusing on the recurring character? Like, for example, in The Big Bang Theory, Stewart was a recurring character, and you're making a whole new series just based on him. Would you ever do that in your films?
Well, I've got cameos from two characters in two different films in Quattro. Um, if there's a story that I feel that I can bring that character back in, or that I could do a story like in Anna Key, there's the character of Marta, or Marty, as her friends call her. I could have done a whole movie just on Marta, a whole movie on her. I might someday. but right now I have other stories that I want to tell. So while it's certainly, excuse me, not impossible, right now it's just not something I'm interested in doing. But there are some characters that they live in my head constantly, and they're in some of my other films. So they'll keep coming back until I finally tell their story the way that I feel it should be told.
I kind of had I make YouTube videos. I do creative series and all that, and I thought about doing like, I don't know, kind of like a multiverse type deal, but it's kind of hard to do a multiverse of me in 7 different ways with all these characters, and I don't know. I feel like I would want to do that, and I still kind of want to do it, but it's just like I don't really have the technology or like the camera and all that stuff just to really make that work. Would you ever do something like that, or is that just something not in the books?
No, I mean it's definitely a possibility. It's really just about planning. You can do, like, if you want to have 6 of you sitting in a room, it takes time. It'll take time to do that. But you basically would shoot what they call a plate, which would basically just be an empty room. And then you would film, keep that camera exactly in that spot. Don't move it. Excuse me. And then film you that, and then move to the next spot, change your outfit, film that, and so on and so forth. And then, excuse me, then if you put it all together in your editor, which so long as you can do it seamless, which you can do because you got the plate and it's masking and a few other little things, you can actually do it that way. And without, it takes a lot, it'll take a lot of time. You'll probably spend a whole, the scene's 5 minutes long. You'll probably spend 12 hours trying to get it, but you can do it. And certainly, I've got some ideas. I've got lots of ideas that I want to try. Like, I want to do sort of there's an anime called Initial D, which is about street racers in the mountain areas of Japan. And I'd like to do one for the back roads here in Maryland and Virginia. And for that, I need a drone pilot and some drones and drone pilots who are able to follow a car through twisty, windy roads in the backwoods. And so something like that, again, that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of planning, and certainly a lot of money. But if you really want to do it, if you got the story and you want to try that, give it a shot. I mean, do it on a small scale. Just try it, like you talking to yourself on a couch. And then once you figure out how to do that and make it look good, then try it with 3, and then try it with 4. That's how, like with editing, with Serious Profession, the person who was supposed to edit wasn't available. He left the company. The next person didn't have the time because things started picking up because it was right after COVID. So he suddenly got a lot of work that had been postponed. And then the third one didn't even touch it. And so I wound up having to jump in. So I had to learn editing myself. And then I had to do it with Anna Key. And now I've gotten a much better process, which with these things and Heavy Duty Man, I learned a lot from Serious Profession, Anna Key, and Heavy Duty Man, editing those. And now with these things, I mean, the editing was just like boom, 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 boom. So the more you do it, the more you practice, the more experience you have, the faster it becomes, the easier it is, and makes you want to try new things and more things. Like in Heavy Duty Man, for the first time in my life, I put muzzle flashes on a gun that wasn't shooting anything. It was but you couldn't tell. I mean, it took forever, but it looks really good. So, if the desire's there and you're just willing to take the time and have the patience, you'll get it done, and you can do it.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. It's kind of like the same thing with radio. Like when it comes to, I do a lot of editing with audio and stuff. It does take time to get something perfect and make it perfection. I mean, there are a few times I will admit that I do kind of cut corners, but at the same time, when it comes to certain work, you can't cut corners. You have to be precise in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. A saying that I say myself, it's okay to break the rules when you know you're breaking the rules. A lot of people break the rules because they just don't know any better. And when you do that, you can tell. But you can cut corners, you can break a rule, you can do something when you know, okay, I know what I'm doing. I can do this and, for lack of a better phrase, get away with it. Even with editing, um, something that, excuse me, happens all the time where let's say like you have two people talking and this person has a great reaction shot, but the person is speaking, but that it's from a different take. It's okay to just put that audio on there because you're not seeing that person speaking, or maybe they might see the side of their mouth a little bit. So what if it's a little bit off? You get the reaction shots you need, and then when it cuts back to the take that's a good take, it's seamless. You don't have any kind of noticeable cut or change. So, I'm totally with you on that one. If you know where you can do it, do it. But it has to be perfect, got to make it perfect. Audio, audio is one of the most important things in any film. You can have the greatest film in the world, but if your audio sucks, nobody's going to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, we had somebody that gave us audio and it sounded so distorted.
Oh,
I tried to I looked it up on Google. I was like, how to make the audio sound not distorted. I looked it up for Adobe, and it said do it this way, and I did it, and it still sounded horrible. It sounded worse. So I had to
yeah.
air it, and like a couple people did complain. I'm just like, look, I had to air what I had to air. I couldn't really fix it as much as I tried. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a movie that the sound on it was so fussy because they recorded everything through one audio track. They didn't split up the signal. So that's what it sounded like. So
Oh,
hours and hours of footage. Fortunately, I had a sound engineer. I know a couple sound engineers that really, I mean, he Andrew Stainer is his name. And he has done wonders on all of my films. He's done the audio on every single one of my films. And even as good as he is, even with the equipment and the stuff that he has, there's still just places in the audio where the audio is just it's good. It's as clean and as good sounding as going to be, but it's still I can hear the distortion. Most people don't notice it, but I can still hear it. Because, I also notice when there's a boom mic in the shot and all that stuff. Most people won't notice it. So sometimes you just have to say, okay, I can either not release this or I just have to accept the fact that there's nothing I can do. I can only do so much and we're going to press forward. And that's the decision you have to make sometimes. It's not a great decision. It sucks when you have to sit there and go, yeah, okay, well, nothing I can do about it. Let's keep moving on. It's either that or I got to scrap this whole thing. And if there's some good stuff, but the audio has just got some slight issues here and there, suck it up and do it.
yeah, and it's kind of like the same. Like some people at my job, I work for multiple stations, multiple FM stations and AM station. This one guy, the audio he would send us, and whenever he would record, it would sound like he would scream, and the levels would be so overmodulated. You had to try to fix the levels, and it still sounded so bad, just because he was screaming into the microphone. It wasn't a good scene. Um, but trying to fix his audio was the worst. It still makes me cringe to this day.
Yeah, I've been there myself with some of the audio on some of my films. Again, you just have to do your best with what you can do. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect, but if it's passable, um, then you feel that it's passable enough, you can release it. Otherwise, don't release it. And you'd really. I'm one of those people that I will release something unless it is so bad, it's so badly effed up that I just it- I don't want my name associated with this is because it's so bad. And I haven't gotten there yet, but I know at some point that's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, you get it. You either press on or you say, nope, I'm out.
Yeah, no, I get that a lot. Are you a fan of analog horror by any chance?
Of what?
Analog horror?
Analog horror. I've never heard that term before.
It's kind of like it's hard to explain. It's kind of like creative series just in like scary format. So there's this like one channel on YouTube. It's called the Asthma Files. Yeah, the Asthma Files, and it's basically a guy that's trapped up in the mountains, and some weird, crazy stuff happens to him, and he is basically filming it. It's really well directed the way he does it by himself, but or with people, but that's basically what it is. Just like scary content, kind of like in found footage type form.
Hmm. I actually did a film like that, a short film, called 2021 AC. Um, it's available on my YouTube channel. It's not my best work. But I've kind of done something similar like that. Basically a guy, which I played. I'm not an actor, but I just had this creative itch that I had to scratch. And it's this guy in his tub talking about the after the fall of civilization.
Mm.
And just explaining I'm filming it in my bathtub at night with my cell phone, and I add in like wind sound effects to show that like the natural devastation and all that. So yeah, I've done something like that. I'm a fan of just about everything. Certainly, I'm more of a science fiction crime guy than I am maybe a horror. I love horror, but I also love drama. I mean, you look at everything that I've done through Key 13, I cover the range. I've done horror, done sci-fi comedy, I've done sci-fi horror, I've done family drama, I've done relational drama, So um, if it's good, I admire anything that's good in whatever format it is. If it's, I've watched I like Pride and Prejudice, the one with Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet. I love that movie, directed by Ang Lee. I love that movie. Most people who know me would go, "Really? You like that movie?" Knowing, what you like, the movies that you like. So, it, good good cinema, good radio, good music, good anything, art, whatever you want to call it. If it's good, I'm a fan.
Yeah. No, I understand. I guess you could say I'm more of like a John Hughes type guy. I like watching movies like that. 16 Candles is probably one of my favorite movies, as well as The Breakfast Club and Ferris Bueller Day Off.
Mhm.
I love all those types of movies. I'm a big horror guy. I was born on Friday
Mhm.
the 13th, which is a fun fact about me. And I guess you could say my favorite scary movie of all time is Halloween.
Mine too.
Yeah, you're a big Michael.
Yeah. Sorry. Yes, I'm a big Michael Myers fan. There are types. There are Freddy fans, Jason fans, Michael fans, Candyman. There's a few Jeepers Creepers folks. Of course, Final Destination, the new one's coming out. Everyone's all excited about it. But for me, it's Michael. I have every Michael Myers movie. I even have Halloween 3, which I actually absolutely adore. Even though he's not really in it, except for the brief little cameo in the commercial.
Right.
Uh, I absolutely adore the Halloween franchise. Even freaking Busta Rhymes in Resurrection. I have that movie still. I'll still watch it, even though it's freaking Busta Rhymes, getting into a fight with Michael. Yeah, I'll watch any of the Halloween movies. Uh, you know, even the Rob Zombie ones. Oh, even the new ones that Danny McBride did. I watched them all.
I didn't like Rob Zombie's films. Like they were at first they were cool because I think I saw them when the movies come out 2007 2009. So I was like a teenager and I adored Michael Myers. And as I got older, I just couldn't get into Rob Zombie's films anymore. It just wasn't for me. But then the new ones that McBride created, like they were good. I mean, the last one was okay, but
Yeah, it was okay.
Michael wasn't really in it until the final, like 35 minutes.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was disappointing.
what was that?
That was disappointing.
Yeah. I mean, they could have done something different, but I felt like the kid that was killing everybody, it just didn't make sense to have a new killer. I mean, it kind of did because it kind of reminded me of Halloween 4 towards the end, or not 4. Yeah, it was 4 with
Yeah, it was 4. Yeah.
and it kind of reminded me of that, but uh there was no like Thorn connection to the kid at all. It was just he was just a crazy mother effer at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I liked the Rob Zombie, the first one. I liked it because they got into the psychology of Michael. Why, they dispensed with the Curse of Thorn and went with more of, battered child, basically being shaped by his environment. The one thing I did not like about the Rob Zombies, I like the theatrical version when Michael escapes while he's being transferred. I don't like the unedited version where they go in and assault the
The
female patient in his room. That just felt needlessly exploitive. So I didn't like that part. I thought the theatrical version with Sybil Danning and them, and him breaking free and killing Danny Trejo. I like that version much better. Um, but um, but yeah, Halloween Ends was not, if I were to rate them all, it definitely probably is my least favorite Halloween. It was an apt title. It really kind of ends. I'm kind of glad it ended that way. But if they make another one or they reboot the whole thing again or whatever, I'm still gonna watch it. I mean,
yeah.
even if they get Mike Myers, uh, the actor, uh, I'll still watch it.
Are you a fan of the Thorn series, or do you think it's not needed? Because I know a lot of people didn't like it after Halloween 5. They thought it was a little wonky. Um,
I like the idea. I love a good. I don't know if it would be a witchcraft story, but I have a project that I'm working on called "Sexy Sorority Sisters of Death," and it's got a very cultish, kind of uh there's like a ritual that takes place every autumnal equinox, So I kind of like that. So for me, when the Curse of Thorn came out in Halloween 6, because it really, it kind of was covered in 5 a little bit, but it really didn't come out until 6, which of course introduced the world to Paul Rudd, which is, totally, you're totally like, wait a minute, creepy. He was playing Tommy. Wasn't he play? Yeah, he was playing Tommy version. Yeah, and you sit there and you watch that, and you're like, "Fuck, that's Paul Rudd." And then he did Clueless, not like right after that. But I liked it. I kind of liked the idea. And I've seen both the director's cut and the original cut, and um, and then when Halloween H2O came out and they started that kind of arc, I still felt that you could have tied it in with Halloween 4 and 5 and 6 because of the fact that she just basically abandoned her kid, faked her death, and then started a new life, which has happened in other types of movies. So I kind of still believe they're all kind of almost one whole continuity. Until you hit Rob Zombie, and then that's totally
I think they tried to do that in one of the scripts. Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, her character was reading an article about a girl getting killed by Michael Myers, and she
right.
ran into the bathroom and threw up, and that was part of the original script in H2O, and they scrapped it for some reason. But I do kind of believe that they all do they all tie together in one way or shape or form.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And like I said, I love the Halloween series. I've got them all. I've got every single one of them, Busta Rhymes included.
I wasn't a fan of that one, but you did mention Halloween 3. That was a great film.
Yes. Yes, it was. I actually used to do a show called Terribly Awful, and it was one of the few episodes where we actually loved the film that we were reviewing. Because we would pick the worst films ever made. But we did a special Halloween episode, which unfortunately got banned on YouTube because copyright.
Oh,
Um, and so, we basically gave a big middle finger to YouTube for that. But Facebook didn't have a problem with it, so it was available on Facebook for a while. And so, it's one of the few films that we actually loved, and I do love Halloween 3. Again, it's I love the sci-fi horror, and that's what it is. It really is a sci with a little bit of with the cult and the witch, and the Stonehenge and all that. Um, and so actually Quattro has a very strong influence from Halloween 3. Just adding in the science element to the horror element, and so that's why I do absolutely love Halloween 3. The only problem that um the only part of Halloween 3 is I get into debates on Stacey Nelkin's character when she actually gets turned, or when she gets replaced. I know spoilers, but I'm sure everybody at this point has seen it.
yeah.
So, when did she get replaced? And if she got replaced when he was like dumping all the little Samrock things and created the overload and killed all the robot scientists and stuff, why didn't she stop him? Because if she was trying to, why stop him after he's done it all? So that's the only part about Halloween 3 that I felt could have been done a little bit better. But I still love it. I still watch it. Tom Atkins is still the man. I mean, and it's funny. He's almost playing the same guy that he did in The Fog. And so all he needs is a car and some beer, and he could get Jamie Lee Curtis in The Fog and Stacey Nelkin in Halloween 3. All he needs is a car and a beer, and he's going to get laid. And that is, for me, the quintessential hero. I mean, uh, we need more heroes like that. None of these, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible kind of guys. We need, Dr. Chalice, a beer, a car, and just the right kind of attitude.
There's this podcast called Now Playing, and they were covering the Halloween 3. They were called Season of the Witch, and they were saying that Tom was gay. His character was gay because of the hanky in the back, and that, like, in the back of his pants pocket. And they were like analyzing that. I'm like, well, who cares if the guy's gay? Why would that matter if he's gay? And they were just saying just because of the hanky in his back pants pocket was or what's this shirt? I can't remember. I'm blanking right now. But
no. He was. I mean, it would have been interesting had he been, but no. Sorry, I don't buy it.
They were really like analyzing deep into these characters, which is really out of control. I feel like.
Yeah.
But no, but you do have a good point though. When did she turn? That is, like, was she always a robot? But it doesn't make sense if she was always a robot because
Right, because if she was always a robot, then why didn't she stop? She had 20 million times to get rid of them.
Yeah.
And she never did. And then when she finally does, try to kill him, she does it after he's already basically won, except for the transmission, which was already pre-programmed. That's not going to stop. Is she trying to stop that? Okay. Was she like, a certain set of conditions had to be met before she activated? Maybe that's what it was. That's the only reason why I can think of is why Ellie decided, Stacey Nelkin character Ellie, why she decided to suddenly try to kill him after he'd already gotten rid of Connell Cochran, which, Dan O'Hurley is just freaking greatest villain. I love his character, and he's so badass as a villain in that one.
Do you think they could have made a sequel on that? Like Halloween 3 Season of the Witch Part 2, where because I thought of this idea. It takes place 40 something years after the events of the film. Dr. Chalice saves the universe, but then there's another villain who's trying to do the same thing again, just in the 21st century.
That would be cool. There was a short film called The Third Channel, and I know about it because I donated to the crowdfunder. That they were trying to tell the story about the aftermath of what happened. So yeah, you could have done that, or you could have done, okay, so for me, the kind of more character driven, story driven kind of guy, I would have loved to seen like a movie that takes place, right after, a few years after, where like one third of the population of children died, and now there's areas of the United States that you can't even go into because it's all basically now become evil, and they've all reverted back to a more paganistic society, like Connell Cochran was talking about, back when he was young, and and you could do so much, so many really great scary stuff with that, and you could have even tied in the Curse of Thorn. Excuse me, tied in the Curse of Thorn with it, and that it helped unlock that, and so there's so many different ways it could have gone. I haven't seen the Third Channel short film. Haven't been keeping up with that, but yeah, I mean, lots of people have ideas on what could have been done afterwards. I would have loved to seen it. I would have loved if they had managed to keep the anthology series going, like Friday the 13th, the series. That was a pretty interesting series. Um, I was disappointed that on a Friday the 13th episode, Jason didn't show up, but um, I think it could have been very interesting. There's so many different ways that could have done it. And yeah, sure. I love Halloween 4. Bringing just basically going back to mama, so to speak. But yeah, I would have loved this. I'd love to see something different.
I think they could. I think if fans really liked Halloween 3, like if enough fans signed a petition, I believe they would probably do like a part 2 to the film.
Maybe. I mean, I I have a complicated relationship with it would be a sequel, so I don't mind that so much. Um I you know, one of the frustrating things about being an independent filmmaker, and I'm going to get on a soapbox here for a minute, so please forgive me as I go off on a tangent here. Uh I am I'm one of those people that I don't mind a remake, a reboot, a reset, because in many cases they can be quite interesting, entertaining. Some of them even address plot holes or issues that the original kind of glossed over or whatever. But I'm I'm getting to the point now where and it's Hollywood mostly, that Hollywood remaking is now just so desperate to try to make money that they're remaking movies that don't need to be remade. Like I don't know if you've seen it recently. There's the new Rami Malek film, The Amateur.
Yeah,
Uh yeah. It's a remake of a Canadian action thriller from the 80s called The Amateur. And the plot is exactly the same. And most people have never seen it. And most people probably have never even heard of it. But it's a remake. And it's just like, it was an okay movie. I have a copy of it. I liked it. But is it a movie that needed to, are you telling me that there are no new ideas? I know there are new ideas. I mean, I'm not trying to sit there and say, I'm a freaking genius and I'm coming up with stories that nobody would ever think of. No, no, I'm telling the same stories, but for the budget that they spent on The Amateur, if they'd given that to a movie like Quattro, oh my gosh, that movie, we could make a cult film for a fraction of the budget and still knock the crap out of people. And we're doing it on a low budget. I mean, I just got pictures of the prosthetics for one of the scenes where a character gets brutally murdered and basically gets stabbed in the groin with a sharpened piece of bone.
Mm.
And I just saw the prosthetic for that, and it looks fantastic. And we're doing this on a micro budget. And so, as much as I like watching sequels and reboots and all that, I think that we need to put a hold on that for a while and give all these, and there are so many independent filmmakers out there that have really interesting ideas that don't get a chance because they don't have representation, they don't have an agent, they don't have a manager, they don't have anybody that isn't full of bullcrap to get their movies out to the plate people that have the money. And uh, you know, um, I just wish that Hollywood would stop pouring money into remakes of films that now they're hitting more obscure films instead of investing in the future, like films that I make, films that my friend Mark Byrne makes, you know, my friend Tom Toohey had written. He's got some great ideas. There's so many great ideas out there that just don't see the light of day. So as much as I'd love to see a Halloween 3 sequel, I would actually much rather see, something like an Inception or a Memento. And I know those are both Nolan films, but something like that where they just take a whole new idea or a whole new way of telling the same story. Um, that's more what I would wish I could see. All right, I'm off my soapbox now.
In the middle of that, when I was listening, my puppy came up. I don't know if you saw her head pop up in the.
No, I was on full rant mode, so I was just I missed the puppy. Oh, there's the puppy.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, unfortunately, my cats are scratching outside the door. They want to come in, but one
yeah.
of them, I'm not sure which one, has a habit of peeing on my clothes. So that's not happening. I was being nice for a while, for a while there, one let them in, and I started being nice, letting them in, and then I went to pick up a shirt and it had pee on it, and I was like, okay, nope, Becca, get the hell out. So
She actually, so we got her in, actually, it was November 1st. And my grandfather, he passed away in October. Anyways, we put her in a playpen, and we didn't want to put her in the cage rate yet. And my wife zip tied the playpen because where we got off of like Facebook Marketplace, and zip tied it. And I'm thinking, well, let's not zip tie it. Let me see if I could tie a rope around it. So I cut the zip ties. And during the funeral, when we're driving to the cemetery, we see her. She chews through the rope that I tied, and she was roaming around the house, grabbing anything she could. I'm just like, oh my god, why did I do that? Because I didn't think she was going to break through a zip tie, the rope, but little did
oh
I,
yeah.
she did.
Yeah, you gotta watch out for the pets, man. Give them an inch, they'll take a mile. But I do admit I miss having the cats cuddle up next to me, especially during the winter. But I like I like even my dirty clothes not to have cat pee on them. Because that smell just it it goes away, but it's still like blah. So
She goes socks.
pardon?
She goes after socks.
Oh yeah. Wow. If what the dog doesn't get, the dryer will take the rest.
Yeah, but let's see, what time is it? Is there anything you want to promote before we get out of here?
Uh, well, yeah, actually. I don't know. How soon do you think this will be airing?
It should be tomorrow, Friday at the latest. I'll definitely
Okay.
when it
All
airs.
right. Well, then I can definitely plug my crowdfunder that I have. It's in its last week. We have 7 days left. We are right now we're trying to fund both Quattro and following in a double featured funding campaign. As far as I know, it's the first double feature funding campaign on Indiegogo. Not that necessarily netted us any extra money. But those are our two next projects. If you want to see anything that we do, Key 13 Films, www.key13film.com has links to everything that we've done. You can see all our short films that are available on there. You can see where our current status of our projects. We're currently looking for distribution on Serious Profession and Anna Key. That's just a slow process, but We're also on Facebook. I do have an Instagram, but I have to admit I'm terrible at keeping it updated. I'm only one guy. There's only so much I can do. But the big thing is our crowdfunder campaign. But if you really want to support us, share the links, donate, even if it's just $5. Anything that anybody can do will help us make the film better than we're already going to make it. Like I said, www.key13film.com. Everything you want to know about us is right there. And if you have any questions, we got a section that you can ask those questions.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you again for coming on.
Absolutely, had a blast.
Likewise, and we'll talk in a little bit. So we're gonna
Okay.
take a quick little break, and we'll be back in just a few moments.
All right, that is going to wrap up today's show. If you are new, make sure you like on Spotify and A3 Media on YouTube, TJTV6 on TikTok, producer TJ995, where I post all my real life content and bucket list challenges as well. TJ's Production on YouTube, where you can see Dimension X Season 4 and all my other good projects that I've done throughout the year. Also, I was thinking of coming back with Unexplainable Season 4. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with it yet. I mean, I usually start filming around March, April, and kick it off all the way till the summer, but with stuff going on in my personal life, I may push it back a little bit. Who knows? I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do. And also, I did talk about this later. I am doing a Backroom series. I'm planning to do a series on the Backrooms. And personally, I'm not entirely sure how I want to do it, how I'm going to execute it. But I am working on a new series called The Backrooms that may be airing maybe in the summertime, maybe in October. I don't know. I still kind of want to do the ghost hunting thing. I think Unexplainable would be really fun. And also, I'm going to announce this now. The 10-year show of TJTV, that is going to be premiering in June. I don't have a specific date for it yet, but it may be the final show. I'm not entirely sure yet. I've been teasing it for the last year and a half, like, hey, after 10 years, I'm going to retire TJTV and maybe rebrand the show in September. Like I said, I don't know. But I am planning something big for the 10-year show. I usually do music for the 10-year show, but for this 10-year show idea that I want to have a few of my friends like Ray Gonzalez, John the Ninja, a.k.a. John Johnson, Bob Kaplan, Tori, and it's basically going to be kind of like a roundtable discussion of the show for 10 years. And it's going to be about them and a little bit about me. I mean, honestly, I don't really care about my accomplishments, but 10 years is a long time. And I kind of want to do it live, but I think that'd be pretty fun to have John and Ray and Bob and Tori and just a few people that have been on the show before. Maybe Jordan as well. I think that'd be really fun just to have them on the show because it's cool and I like those roundtable discussion type deals because, who knows? Something that I think would be awesome. So I am planning to do that, and who knows? Maybe something good will come out of it. But anyways, that's it. All right. I love you all to death, and I'll see you guys later. I'll probably be back tomorrow. If I'm not back tomorrow, I'll be back next week. And I am planning to do more interviews. I mean, I may have an interview in the next 2 weeks and an interview after that as well. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys later. And, bye.